Welcome to the last edition of the De-Stress and Manifest. I've got somebody with me here who wants to quit alcohol, and that's what they want to manifest. I think, one wonderful use of this session is just advice on how I do it with my clients. And so if there is a substance that you're finding it really hard to cut out of your life, if you know that you're an all or nothing kind of person and you need to cut it out of your life, or if you want to reduce it, this is how I do it with my clients, and it is very successful. And I just have to remember to ask them to leave me more reviews online, hopefully explaining what they've been through and what it was like. So what I do is I do a gradual cut down plan, because now I specialize in the more challenging cases, people who have tried and are kind of in a limbo situation. And this is what you need to do. First of all, first step is to admit to yourself that you have a problem. And that is using all the techniques at your disposal, including tapping. Second thing is, if you're living with someone, if you're living with a partner, for example, sometimes it's difficult with parents because if they're an abusive parent, which is why the alcohol thing, or if they're a kind of weird parent or a parent that drinks a lot, you can't sort of get their buy-in on that. You might have to move out. But let's say you're with a partner or with a flatmate, it's a matter of just admitting to them that there is a problem, if that's appropriate. Unless you're with flatmates where your door is always locked, where you don't interact very much, where they don't ask you to have a drink with them, etc. And otherwise you have to get their buy-in on it and say, look, I have this problem. I'm on a cut down plan and I aim to cut down to nothing. So that's the second step. The third step is to obviously work on all the emotional issues that are behind the drinking, which I believe the client that is with me today has already done. So after that, the fourth step comes about a pact, what I call a pact. It can be a pact with yourself, or if you're a practitioner working with somebody, having a pact with the person that you work with. And at the end of each session, I do a pact. So I say, how much can you cut down to today? So let's say it's somebody that used to drink 2 bottles of wine a day. Maybe we would agree, okay, how much do you think you can cut down to? And the client goes, 1 bottle a day. And I'm thinking, it's a little bit extreme. I say, okay, so when do you next want to see me? When can you next afford to see me, given your time and budget? So if they say in 1 week, that gives us 7 days. So I say, all right, this is what I want you to do. In the next 7 days, I want you to try to stick to 1 bottle every day. But if on 3 of those days, you end up having 2 bottles, to forgive yourself, because that is the pact that I'm making with you today. So and that's how it is. And so then we get to the buying. Because if somebody has tried to give up so much, and let's say there's still alcohol in the house, you know, you can try to limit it to 1 a day, but it's the buying that's a problem. So let's say you do your shopping once a week, and our pact was in 7 days, you can have 1 bottle a day, plus 3 of those days, you can have 2. It doesn't mean that if on any of those days you don't feel like drinking, you should drink a bottle. And it doesn't mean that if on any of those days you feel like drinking 2 glasses only, you should drink the whole bottle. It doesn't mean that at all. So when you go shopping for the week, you buy only 10 bottles of wine. So that's what you've got in the house. And it's the tapping that you'll be doing is on the temptation to go out to buy wine or to get your phone and get onto the delivery service. So before you pick up the phone and get on delivery, so that's the point of no return. You've got to respect the point of no return. Okay, right, that's going to be a drinking night. That's going to be a night when you're not going to stick to the pack. That's fine. But otherwise, it's before you pick up the phone to make the order or before you go to the shop. That's when, you know, but when you've got your coat on, for example, or your outdoor clothes on, you've got your shoes on, that's too late. So it's before then that you should tap, 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 tap for this need to go out and buy alcohol. So that's something that you can tap for. And if you want any advice on tapping, I'm going to leave a link to my tapping self-help course underneath here. And I'm going to also leave a link to a private consultation with me, which is completely free. If you haven't had one in the last 3 years, you're allowed to have one. But if you've had one last month, you can't have another one. You've got to have a paid session. But anyway, it's completely free. So if you're new to me, if you haven't had one in the last 3 years, and there's something that you're addicted to that you want to let go of, then please, 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 there's also a link for that. So I can assess the situation for you, and together we can come up with a plan for you to move forward and the 3 blocks in your path to moving forward that we need to get out of the way. So we buy. So let's say you buy weekly. So for that week, you're buying 10 bottles of wine, right? And you put them where the bottles of wine go. If you live with somebody, they're not allowed to touch them, they're yours. So you put them somewhere. Let's say you're sharing a home with people. Can't put them all in your bedroom, because when you're in your bedroom, it's like too tempting. Put them somewhere where they're labeled, say that these are my bottles of wine. Unless you hide it, then you know where the hiding places are. Okay. So then after that week, what I do is I meet up with a client again. I like to do it more than once a week, but I go according to time and budget. So let's assume a week. So after that week, I'll meet up with that client again. And maybe the client says, well, for those 7 days, I managed for 3 days to have 1 bottle of wine, and 4 days I had 2. I said, well done for the 3, because that is an improvement on what you did before. Because before you used to drink 2 bottles of wine a day, now you're drinking 1. Well done. Let's have a look at those 4 days. What happened in those 4 days that didn't happen in those 3 days? Where were you? Who did you talk to? Who did you see? What activities did you do? And we just explore. So we talk about it and we explore what happened on those days. That's different. And it could be, oh, my best friend rang me and said she's got terminal cancer. Now that's okay. Do you not think that's the reason why you were drinking more than our pact said? Oh, well, I never thought about it that way. Well, yes, it's a big stress, obviously, for you to hear that your best friend is in this situation. So let's tap on that. And so we tap on the fears and all that. And depending on the person's spiritual beliefs, we go into maybe a prayer or whatever they need to feel at ease with what their friend is going through, and find a way for them, maybe find a strategy for them to be supportive to their friend, because that might make them feel better as well. Okay. So, and then at the end, they're feeling relaxed again. We've done a lot of tapping. We found some good strategies, how to deal with the friend or whatever, and what to do, and not to give too much of yourself as well. So don't call your friend every day, because that will take so much out of you that could drive you to the bottom. So let's not do that. But maybe there are 2 days a week that you can structure where you can call your friend, let's say on a Tuesday and on a Friday, and be supportive to them. So, something like that we work out. So how do you feel at the end of this? Oh, yes. I want to cut down to lower than 1 bottle. I don't think that's realistic, but let's say we cut down to 7 days where you can have a maximum of 1 bottle. So if in any of those days you only feel like having, let's say, 2 glasses of wine or 1 glass of wine or no glass of wine, that's fine. Okay. And but you're allowed an extra bottle of wine on one of those days. It doesn't mean that I allow you or that you should be deprived or anything like that. It just means that let's observe what's happening. Let's observe what's happening and write it down day by day how much you've had and bring it back to me. And then I will observe it with experienced eyes. I've been doing this since 2002. And then I'll be able to help you explore what happened on those days when you went over and what was special about those days when you went under. And so that we can move forward. So great. And then the next week, the person comes in. And I'm just going on the assumption that it's once a week. Some people see me twice a week or 3 times a week. So some people can only afford to see me once every 2 weeks. Whatever works for them is fine. I'll work with it. So then they come back. All right. So how did it go? And I go, wow. On 2 days, I didn't drink at all because I didn't feel like it. On 1 day, I had 2 bottles, and on all the other days, I had 1. Great, wonderful. And so we go from there. So what happened on that day that you had 2 bottles? What do you think was special about those days that you didn't have any? and then we'll go for that. Go from there with that. So if there is an activity which you know when you do that activity, you don't drink, maybe you can find another group that you can do that activity with more than once a week, twice a week, for example. Yeah. So let's say every time you have a gym night, you don't drink, and you have a gym night once a week, then maybe you can have a gym night twice a week. And so obviously that is something that is helping you to stay away from the alcohol. So every week we decide how many bottles we're going to buy. So this is what we're going to buy. And then if the temptation happens and somebody goes to the shop or picks up their phone and starts ordering, that's the point of no return. We respect that. We just observe it. We just observe it. We don't judge. So slowly, we get to the stage where, okay, there are small bottles of wine. Can you buy 7 small bottles of wine and have those one a day? Oh yes, I think I can do that. And so we get 7 small bottles of wine. And then can we designate 2 days of the week as non-drinking days, and the rest you can have a small bottle of wine? Yeah, I think I could do that. And then we move on from there. And in every session, when we look at those days when the drinking was heavier than normal, something has happened on that day. Always something has happened on that day. Or maybe something has happened on that day. So the person drank, they felt really bad about themselves the next day. They felt ashamed. And then they thought, well, I broke the pact anyway, so I might as well have another one today. And then because I had another one today, oh, well, I'll have another one today as well. And by the time oh no, this is all very silly. I'm seeing Suzanne soon. No, this is very silly. I'm wasting my time and money. I'm going to stick to one today. I'm feeling all right now. And they don't know, they're really not aware why they drank the 2 bottles. And it just sometimes needs an outsider looking in, observing what happened to say, okay, well, I think this, or this could have triggered you to have that second or that big bottle instead of that little bottle. And it's just a cut down plan. And in the end, we have maybe, let's say, 2 little bottles, because there are little bottles, 2 little bottles a week. And then, you know, the person can decide, do they want to completely cut this out of their lives because they're an all or nothing person? Or do they think they can have 2 bottles a week? So it really depends. Each person is very different. Yeah. If they can control the situation of 2 little bottles a week, then fine. That's where we end it. And if they find at any stage that it's overwhelming them, that they'd rather quit completely, then they come back and we go through the process from whatever stage they're at and cut down to nothing. So a cut down plan is very good, but the main thing that I have found is the buying stage. Yeah, because if you don't buy it, you can't drink it. Yeah. For example, if you know that there's a night where you're feeling really, I've got to have that second bottle of wine, or I've got to have that 1 bottle of wine, or whatever it is, put your phone away. If you're with a partner, ask them, can you please hold my phone for me? I don't want to order. You know, there are things that you can do to use help. If you're living with a supportive flatmate, you can do the same with them. You say, please, I don't want to order. Can you please hold my phone for me for the night? And I'll just go to my room and tap and cry until whatever it is that's bothering me is out of the way. You know, and you may not know what's bothering you. So you can just tap on all the points silently. Tap, 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 tap. Until you manifest that, okay, I'm going to stick to the plan. Yeah. And you don't need any words. You can just tap on all the points. You can tap for hours. You can tap for 3 hours if you like, and just go through it. And you'll find that, cut down plan I found very successful, because when I first started working with addictions, I worked mainly with smoking, and I had a questionnaire which ruled out anyone that wasn't ready to go right now. So if they weren't ready to go right now, I would refer them to a counselor. But now that I have EFT tapping skills, I take them on. And I say it's going to take longer than usual. And we're going to do, because people don't like, nobody likes to feel that they're doing something and not succeeding. Nobody wants to feel like a failure. So everybody just wants to manifest what their heart truly desires. And as an ex-addict myself, what I was most addicted to was legal, and it nearly killed me. But I know all about addiction. I've taken almost every drug under the sun. And I know how it works. You know, it's almost instant. I feel bad, I take this, I feel good. And this happens automatically in your brain. So you're not even thinking about it, and you don't know why you have this thing that you call a habit. It's because in your brain it's become automatic. And we want to do something. The cut down plan, I find, gives us time to deal with those emotions. Because I say to people, well, if you believe it's just a habit, don't buy any. And sit there at night when you're usually drinking or whatever, or using whatever drug. Just sit there and write down all the bad feelings that come to you. This is why you use, this is why you drink. Okay. So, but that is very harsh. And sometimes a treatment center is required, let's say for huge addictions of maybe 5 bottles a day or something like that. Definitely for heroin, it's nice to go to a center where you get dried up. There are a few addictions where, you know, you really do need physical support, medical support. But for your average addiction, a cut down plan works beautifully, because everybody wants hope. Everybody wants encouragement. Everybody wants something to feel proud of. Okay. And so as you cut down, let's say you said, all right, I drink 1 bottle a day, and I want to drink this week 4 bottles. So that week, when you go shopping, it's you tap on all the points. Even though I want to buy more than 4 bottles, I promise myself to buy only 4 bottles. I accept that this is how I feel. I honor my emotions and where they come from, and I want to try to buy 4 bottles if I can. So when you go to the shop, pick up 4 bottles if you can. If you can't, then just observe yourself doing it. Look at yourself. Don't judge yourself. Yeah. And so you bring the 4 bottles back home, and then you pace it however way you want to. Yeah. And then you make a record, a daily record. On this day, I had 1 bottle. On this day, I had none. On this day, I had 2 glasses. On this day, I had 1 glass. On this day, I had 1 bottle. You know, and then look at it at the end of the week. Ideally, with a practitioner, look at it at the end of the week. I think, okay, how many bottles have I had? Have I stuck to my plan? And so on, and examine it and tap on whatever needs to be tapped on. And then the next shopping trip, maybe you can buy 3 bottles to last you the week. And then maybe you can move on to little bottles or whatever works. But I found a cut down plan makes somebody have a sense of achievement. So if, let's say, I said 7 days you can have 1 bottle, and 3 of those days you can have 2, and you actually stuck to that plan, that's going to make you feel very proud of yourself. And for somebody who's been struggling with an addiction for years, self-pride is not plentiful. And just having some self-pride in, I stuck to that plan, or I nearly stuck to that plan, can make somebody feel so good. So I hope this helps. And thank you so much for being here and making this session a totally necessary session. And like I said, for you watching the recording, please have a look at the links below. They'll tell you all that you need to know. All right.